This is the Nissan Serena Highway Star S Hybrid. In Japan, this is the most popular family MPV by far. If you're judging the book by its cover, you can see that this is not a very pretty car. And if you spend like even 2 minutes behind the steering wheel, then you'll realize, well, this is not the reason why people are buying it either. So what's the secret of the Serena Highway Star? Why so many Japanese people buying this car, and why is it quite popular in Malaysia? From the side, you can see that this is a very tall car. This is just slightly over 6 foot tall. From there, you can see that they've decided on where they're going to make the compromises. Here, Nissan's engineers have decided to compromise on looks and aerodynamics and driving pleasure in return for massive cabin space. Even though the brief may have been for maximum cabin space, you still have to make the Serena or any car that you're making at least a little bit appealing. So to remove some of the slab-sidedness from the side, they've put this rather, well, you know, a little bit of crease here and this chunky body panel underneath, and that helps to break up the volume a little bit so it's not so tall and gives it some length. If you look at the Serena from straight in front, you can see that the bodywork goes up straight and even the glasswork goes up really straight instead of tilting in slightly in most cars. Now that makes it look a little bit awkward, but there's a lot of sense in terms of the cabin space when you go inside. So really honestly, the front face just right here is where most of the pretty work has been, done. So what they've done is they made the grille quite prominent, given it a lot of chrome, and split the headlamps so that you'll have more play in terms of surfaces, and that distracts the eye from the fact that there's such a big front as well. I think the front works relatively well and makes it a rather attractive car compared to the previous generation of Nissan Serena. From the rear, you can see quite clearly just how tall and slab-sided the car is. Now, in order to break the visual monotony from the rear, they put a large black plastic panel here to match with the glass area, a large chrome bar, and then the rest of it is body colored. But this black plastic bit and the chrome hides something interesting at the back here, split tailgate. You don't find this in any other MPV. This split tailgate is actually quite useful. You know why? Because if you've got maybe just going shopping, the grocery shopping for the week, and you want to put stuff in, you don't have to open the whole tailgate, and you can just dump them in here, and then so when you get back home, you don't have to worry. Sometimes when you open up an MPV tailgate, you open up and the stuff will just fall out of the car. So this way, the stuff can stay inside here, then you can just take it out, and they're all safe. It's a fantastic little innovation, If you need a little bit more space, you can slide these seats forward and then just tilt them forward like this, so you'll have a little bit more space right here. So now with this, you can probably carry, I don't know, a small cabinet, the sideboards. It's quite a practical space, but it's not the biggest because of these on the sides. So once Nissan's engineers decided to give this car this slab-sided boxy shape, surely there's no compromise inside, right? Well, actually there is still compromise. When all 7 seats are up, there's hardly any luggage space. This is common with all MPVs. So they've come up with a really clever solution. Some underfloor storage area, which is the size of a medium-sized bathtub. You could probably put like 3 or 4 duffel bags in here. And it comes with this intelligent little hook, which you can connect to the stem of the rear headrest, and you don't have to hold it up while you put stuff in or take it out. A family car has to be a safe car, and the Serena comes with the usual array of safety systems. It comes with 6 airbags, of course, anti-lock brakes, electronic brake distribution, and cross traction control and vehicle dynamic stability control. And this will help a lot in many situations and helps to make this car a lot safer than it would be without them. Of course, this is the nerve center of the car, and the driver can control a lot of things from here. He's given 2 switches here to control the rear sliding doors, and also another switch to turn on or deactivate the hands-free sliding door system. That system is quite interesting, where most cars you sort of kick underneath the boot to open up the hatch. This one you can kick underneath the grab handle of the sliding door and the doors will open, and do the same thing again underneath the grab handles and the doors will close. And you can turn it off here in case it becomes dangerous to use. There is sufficient amount of storage space. The door pockets are quite deep, but the actual bottle holder doesn't seem big enough to hold the bigger bottles. Maybe it can go up to 1 liter only. Maybe the 1.5 liter could be a bit of a squeeze. In front here, there's storage space, and inside the storage space, there's one of the many USB slots in this car. This car actually has 8 USB slots. So it's one here, and one here. There's 3 in front, 2 in the second row, and 2 in the third row. The driver gets this 7.5-inch multifunction display, which they call ADAD, or Advanced Driver Assist Display. This display will show many things. You can choose to show, well, right now it's a little bit constrained because the door is open, but you press OK, then you can choose whether to have the rev counter there, or you can have any of the fuel economy numbers. And this car also keeps track in terms of the historical, well, that's the display, the driving computer, and you can show the historical data of the fuel economy. It has the fuel economy history. Then you can see how you've been doing over the last few days, the last few hours, and stuff like that. And a lot of these modern cars, they have this feature now to help with the driver to improve in their driving skill, or rather their management of the fuel economy, because this is an eco car and has like eco indicators everywhere. So it's trying to train the driver to become more eco-conscious, and that's one of the ways that they're doing it. In terms of the ergonomics for this car, you do get this rake and reach adjustable steering, which is fantastic, and that helps with the driving position and gives you a good way of finding a comfortable driving position. And the minor controls on this side are easily reachable, but on this side it's a bit of a stretch, especially the touch screen. The touch screen function is best left to your front passenger because it can be quite difficult to reach and it's quite far away. You'd have to raise your shoulder from the seats to reach it. But otherwise, the other information that are displayed in front displayed quite well because it's quite far away from you, and it's not blocked by the steering wheel because you can adjust the steering angle and steering reach. It's easy to get all the information unblocked. And in terms of the driving itself, this car comes with a 2-liter engine. It comes with a CBT transmission, produces 150 horsepower and 200 newtons. These are not great numbers, but they're certainly sufficient for a car of this size. And one of the good things about the Nissan Serena is that there is no central tunnel, and it's easy to move from one side to the other, which could be useful and convenient if you want to swap drivers. Let's say it's raining, you're tired and you can't get out of the car. The driver can go to the back first, the co-driver can move to the driver's seat and then take charge of the car. So this is, I think, the second best seat in the house. Not the best seat in the house because of space and because of the features at the back, but what you do get is this panoramic view of the world in front. And this windscreen is really large, and all the windows are really big and makes the cabin feel really spacious and airy. And on top of that, you get a lot of storage space in front. There are 3 layers of storage. There's one here, and another one. This glove box is big enough to take an A4 file. It's quite big, but the space is not really a square space, so you'll just have to try to squeeze whatever you can get in there. And for the second row, you have this 12-volt outlet here, which you can use to put in your USB adapter, and you can charge your phone here, or you can use this USB data slot right here. Other than that, because the ergonomics is such that the driver, it's a bit difficult for the driver to reach the controls on this side of the touchscreen. It's up to the front passenger to help run this center console, the features here. So what you have here is an aftermarket touchscreen system. You know it's aftermarket because there are no volume controls on the steering. Usually if it's a factory installed system, you get the volume control on the steerings, but this one does not have that volume control on the steering. But it's alright because it is quite a well-featured Clarion aftermarket unit. You have all the usual stuff, the radio, audio player, video player. You can slot it in through your USB, which is here, and also here, the 2 USB slots. You can also play your video using the same USB. There's mobile link, and then of course you can answer your phones with it, and there's some apps that you can call up directly onto the screen. I think one of the apps that you can call up are all the map or navigation apps, so that you don't actually have to buy any of the maps. You can use the free navigation app on this car system, which is a fantastic choice. Now let's take a look at the second row of seats. Okay, I think the second row of seats is actually the best seats in the house because I mean, look at the amount of space here. And apart from the space, you get this aircraft style drop-down table, which has this wonderful silicone insert, which helps to bring everything a little bit more sticky so that things don't roll around so much and, you know, slide away. And it has also this 2 cup holders. Now, I can't figure out why you need 2 cup holders. And I'm going to try and sit down. Okay, as you can see, this is not the rearmost position of the seat. If this is the rearmost position of the seat. Now, if I move the seat all the way to the back, just look at how much room there is. Fantastic. You're basically reclining, and if you recline the back of the seat as well, it's actually a very nice place to sleep. But of course, if you're busy and if you've got work to do, it also has given you another USB slot here, so you can probably charge your device while doing some work. And again, this table you can use to put up your devices, and there are 2 teh tarik hooks. This one can carry 3 kilograms each maximum. Food, I don't know why you have so many teh tarik hooks, but they do have like this 4 teh tarik hooks just on this row. And they've designed this pocket. An MPV is nothing if it's not comfortable, and in Malaysia, comfort means thermal comfort foremost, because it's a hot country. And if an MPV doesn't have blowers in all rows of seats, then it's probably not such a good thing. Now, the front passengers, they have their own climate control. It's a dual zone system in this car. They get to control their own temperature and their own fan speed, whereas the rear cabin, which means the 2 rows of seats at the back here, we can control our own temperature and fan speed. And everybody gets aircon vent, so there is no reason to complain about thermal comfort. And also you get this video display or video player. I think it has some sort of USB or whatever SD card that you can put in to play the videos. So that's a fantastic feature to have in a family MPV, and it's great. Another interesting feature in this car is the fact that you can slide these seats in. I know you can slide it this way, but you can also slide it this way. You can bring the seats closer together. You can bring the 2 seats together, then it becomes like a sort of a love seat. But if you're sitting next to your mother-in-law and you don't really want her too close, just pull it away and you have your own space. Further enforced by this armrest, because she also gets one. So now if you push the seats all the way back, of course there's a lot of leg room, but if you want to be kind to the people at the back, then you can move this seat forward and still have very generous amount of leg room and knee room, and give the people in the 3rd row sufficient amount of knee room as well. Just how much knee room is available for the 3rd row of person. Now, like, bear in mind, this is my height, this is my height. So let's go to the back and see what we have. As you can see here, the seats of the Serena, even the 3rd row doesn't sit too low down to the floor. So even as I'm sitting here, sufficient amount of knee room, and my knees are not too bent up. Of course, I wish there would be a bit more space under the front seat so I can put my feet there, but clearly that's not possible because the 2nd row of seats have so many functions. You can slide this way and that way. And of course, this comes with this adjustable headrest, which makes it even more comfortable. And of course, the high roof just now gives it just a fantastic amount of headroom. So there's no real complaint about headroom. And this is the 3rd seat belt, which is used by the center passenger. Even the center passenger is not too poorly off because the roof is high. Of course, shoulder room is going to be a bit of an issue at the back, but never mind that. What's even more great about this car is that there's storage area and cup holders even at the back here. There are 2 cup holders here and 2 cup holders on that side, and like I said, another USB port. And you know how usually it's difficult to get out of an MPV, especially for the 3rd row of people. What they've done in this car is they moved this door back. Actually, this door opening is now slightly bigger. If I'm not mistaken, it's about 50 millimeters, 5 centimeters. They moved this door back 5 centimeters, and it might not sound like a lot, but 5 centimeters just give you just enough room to get in and out comfortably. To make even better use of that additional door space, they've included this little button here which allows you to open and close the sliding doors without bothering the people in front. And there are features on the front seats where you can just press that little lever on the bottom of the seats will fold forward, the doors will open, you can get in and out without bothering anyone. That's a fantastic feature. As you can see, this car is packed with really clever features, and although you might say the driver is getting the short end of the stick, the short straw, but the passengers, every single one of them are going to be happy. And as you well know, an MPV is a compromise. Nobody buys an MPV because they want it, but at the very least, if you buy this MPV, everybody else in the car would be tremendously happy, and the driver, well, he's all right. He's well taken care of. It's just not that much fun to drive. Now, before we go on to the score for this car, I want to talk a little bit about the S-Hybrid engine. Now, the S-Hybrid engine, or this mild hybrid system, primarily consists of a stop-start system, which helps you to save fuel. And you can see in the instrument cluster, it will tell you how much of the stop-start system has been invoked and how much fuel has been saved. Now, in order to achieve that stop-start system, what they've done here is to combine the alternator and make it a combo alternator starter motor. So basically, if before in the alternator you see quite a thin belting and quite relatively low tension belting because it doesn't have to carry too much load, this time around it has to carry a lot more load because it has to crank the engine. Therefore, they've given it a much thicker belt and also dual tensioner. It has to be strung very tight around the pulley so there's not a lot of slippage to allow the motor to start the engine very quickly. And even then, there's a bit of a delay before the engine starts compared to other more powerful systems where they have bigger motors and more seamless starting. But still, it still works quite fairly well. There's another interesting feature in this car, which is, I guess, becoming more prevalent these days. It's a camera, dash cam. I don't know if there are so many insurance fraudsters in Malaysia, but it does come with a dash cam. You just put in an SD card and it'll record whatever happens in front. The other thing that's interesting about this car is the fact that the cabin is quite a quiet place to be in. Now, because it's a brick shape, I thought that it would have more wind noise, but even at speeds in excess of the highway speed limit, we find that the cabin is still relatively quiet. Now, that's very strange. I don't know how they've done it, especially because the glass area is so big. Now, glass, as you may well know, is a very poor insulator for sound because it's a very hard material and it's thin, and whatever happens outside is easily transmitted inside. The only way you can get around that problem is by using double glazing glass, but that's very expensive, and I don't think they've used it here. So somehow they've managed to make this brick create very little wind noise. Now, in terms of road noise, we understand how they've suppressed the road noise. Nissan said they've used a lot of insulating panels around the car to keep the cabin very quiet. Now, in terms of the scoring, the driver, like I said earlier, has got a short stick in this draw, but everybody else has got a very nice, comfortable space to be in, and that's what an MPV is all about. The compromise that you make usually happens with the driver. The driver has to make a lot of compromises in terms of the driving pleasure, in terms of the excitement, in terms of even the looks. But in return, what he gives is comfort to his family, and that's what this car is all about. And because of that, and the quite attractive price, which is 140,000, and the number of accessories that is on offer, which includes, by the way, an in-car refrigerator that you can plug into the 12-volt socket, I'm going to give this car a very generous 7.25 out of 10. So if you've liked our video, please share it with your friends. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to come again next week for another car review.